All right, we're gonna get started a minute after the 30 mark. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We know calendars can be quite busy, especially this time of year. So we are really appreciative of you taking the time just to be here with us today, carving out an hour. Before we get started, just a quick note, this session is really meant to be interactive. So feel free, use the chat down below to share throughout your thoughts, react to what you're seeing, and even ask questions. I'll be monitoring the chat as they come up, but we will also leave time at the end for some additional questions and answers as well. So with that, let's get started. To kick us off, I would love for everybody to drop on the chat. Where's everybody joining from today? Just to learn where everybody is spread out throughout the US. Awesome. Okay, let's get started. I am going to quickly introduce myself. I'll pass it to Alex as well. So I'm Lindsay Haig. If I haven't met you all yet, I manage the partnerships here at Tilt. So really my main focus is our broker partners. And I know that there are a handful of brokers on here today. So really excited to have you join the conversation. And then also channel partners. So integration with HCM, payroll, carriers, all of that. So those are my main focuses here at Tilt. I've been with the company for 5.5, almost 6 years. So it's been a really special opportunity for me to watch us grow as a company, customers, all of those things. I sit here in Lincoln, or just outside of Lincoln, Nebraska. Alex, I'll pass it to you to introduce yourself.
Perfect. Thanks, Lindsay. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Lubin, and I am our sales team manager here at Tilt. I'm also in Nebraska, sitting in Lincoln, and I've also been with Tilt for a little over 5 years. So I'm really excited to connect with you all and share our platform with you. It's going to be a fun hour.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, it's a fun opportunity to be able to get to work with you for so long, and even being able to see you in person every once in a while too. So, and also just wanted to side note before we really go into the agenda. I know that when this was first announced on our socials, marketing had said and shared that there would be no slides, but then I was asked to present, and then now there are some slides. So I think there's like 3 or 4. So bear with me here. So I had to put that joke in there from our marketing team. So let's get started. I'll kind of share what we're going to be expecting here for today. We're going to cover first. We'll spend a few minutes here at the top on really what's changing in the leave landscape. Why are so many teams just rethinking their approach when it comes to leave? And then we'll walk through how Tilt approaches this through what we call our leave experience management. And then really from there, the big bulk of today is going to be Alex walking through the platform so that you can see, really how Tilt works in practice. And then we'll kind of end with just really reiterating what sets Tilt apart. So really you can walk away from today's call feeling very confident on how we are managing leave of absence. And then we'll just share a little bit of a sneak peek of our roadmap. Love to do that kind of towards the end. And then again, any questions that come up, we'll spend some time answering those as well. All right. So as we go through this, just think about your current process. Share in the chat. We would love to know what's working well for you all, what's not working, where are things like tending to break. So with that, let's just really get started and dive in on what's happening really with the leave landscape today. I think I want to start off with just really a simple question. Why is leave so hard still to manage so well? I think it's really because most of our organizations, it's not just one challenge, right? It's a combination of compliance, communication, and coordination of everything that's happening all at once, right? So we have multiple layers when it comes to complexity. It's the ever-changing leave laws from like a federal, state laws, company policies, payroll impacts this, manager communication, and really the employee experience. The employees are really expecting just a much better experience. It's really during their personal moment in their lives. So HR teams are trying to really balance all of these things, really all the while just really trying to maintain their day-to-day business and the complexity of it all. So again, I would love for people to drop in the chat here. What's feeling the hardest today? Is it the compliance? Is it communication? Is it the admin workload? Is it something else I didn't share? Just kind of a gut check there on there. If anybody could jump that in that chat. What we're seeing companies today are really ending up in two different models. So either managers are managing, either companies are managing leaves internally, which again, just like what we were just talking about, can create a huge admin burden on themselves, right? So HR teams are chasing updates. Managers are really not sure if they should have visibility, should not have visibility, educated on leave, all of those things. Payroll is trying to understand where pay is coming from multiple different systems. And then again, those employees are really trying to understand what's happening. What are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to apply for? All of those things. So it's very uncertain, and it's really admin, heavy. Or they're outsourcing it. So it's either the in-house or outsourcing, and they choose to outsource. It can really help operationally, but sometimes it can really create a distance between that employee experience. So really, right, the idea, that's kind of where the idea of the set it and forget it comes from. And it really tends to break down, because leave really touches too many people to really fully hand off and outsource. So employees really still need that support. HR still needs that visibility. Managers still need that guidance of understanding what their employees are doing. And so just kind of curious on this, how are you handling leave today? So thinking through that, are you internally managing leave? Are you outsourcing it? Is it like a hybrid, a mix of both? Really to give you an understanding what Tilt does differently, and to highlight. Our belief is that companies shouldn't have to choose between that efficiency and the employee experience. We call our approach the leave experience management. So really it's a simplified idea. Employees feel supported and informed throughout their whole entire leave journey. HR has visibility and the confidence that everything is being handled correctly within the platform. And then managers are also kept in the loop, right? So we're automating the administrative piece, the compliance heavy, behind the scenes work, right? The paperwork, the tracking, the coordination, the complexity of all. So then the HR teams can really focus on that human element and the human side of leave for those employees. So really throughout the process, the really amazing thing I will say that, yes, the technology, but also we have that support along with that technology. So employees still have access to our dedicated leave specialists for guidance and support all throughout their leave journey. One of the things that I think we all share, and we always say internally and probably externally too, a lot here at Tilt is automating the admin, not the human. Honestly, that balance matters more than ever now. As the leave landscape continues to evolve, become more complex, new states enter into that space of paid leave. So really, truly, Tilt for us, it's not a feature. It is our entire focus of what we are doing. So with that context, I just wanted to turn it over to Alex to really let's look, behind the hood of what the experience looks like for HR teams, employees, payroll teams, managers, within the Tilt platform. So Alex, I'll pass it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Lindsay. So like Lindsay said, Tilt is a leave experience management platform. And our goal is to create one source of truth for all key stakeholders. So we manage leave, all types of leave all across the entire country. And we do that through a really great combination of, like Lindsay said, our technology and the human support. One of the things that makes us really different from a lot of our competitors is really going to be our support model. We understand that leave is really personal. It's oftentimes a pretty emotional experience for people. And because of that, Tilt provides dedicated support to employees who are taking a leave of absence. An organization will actually have a team of leave specialists who are really managing leave for their entire company. And once an employee starts a leave of absence, they will actually be assigned a dedicated leave specialist who is really there to support them throughout the duration of their leave. Mm-hmm. So that person is really ensuring that the employee has everything that they need, whether they have questions about FMLA or state benefits, short-term disability, company benefits, or honestly anything in between. Yeah, that's kind of how the leave specialists work. Now, in addition to the leave specialist, your team would also have a customer success manager. And our customer success managers really function as an extension of your HR team. And they're there to help support you throughout our partnership. Now, as we all know, leave is really complicated in the United States. Every state does things a little bit differently, and it's really asking a lot of HR teams to be expected to be leave law experts in every different state. So because of that, Tilt has created a fully in-house leave compliance team. That team has labor and employment attorneys, FMLA specialists, state leave law specialists. And their job is really to make sure that a company's policies and the way that we administer leave on their behalf are always compliant with state law, federal law, and even local law. Okay, so with all that being said, I want to jump into the fun stuff, and I'm really excited to share the platform with you. So I am going to dive into our platform.
And as Alex is sharing her screen too, if you have comments or anything that you want in the chat, drop them in, and I'll be monitoring it. So I'll kind of go as Alex is going through the demo. We'll kind of pause to answer some questions as well.
Perfect. Can we see my screen?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. Technical difficulty. Give me just 1 second.
the fun part of going live. Okay, I can see it now, Al.
Okay, perfect. We're good. Okay. All right. All right. So like I said, I'm really excited to share the platform with you. One important thing I do want to note before I dive into all of this is that we do offer integrations here at Tilt. And that's everything from our custom built two-way API integrations to automated file feeds, and even the ability for employees to manually enter their information into Tilt to initiate a leave. But regardless of how a leave gets entered into Tilt, once it's there, that's really when our software gets to work. And the first thing that I want to share with you is one of our newer features on Tilt, and that is our leave planner. We know that HR teams spend a lot of time answering questions about leave before a leave is even ready to be requested. So because of that, we created our leave planner, and it's designed to take all of that work off of your plate. Employees will have access to Tilt where they can come in and explore their leave options privately without actually having to request a leave of absence. How this works is an employee is simply going to come into the Tilt platform. They would click this try leave planner button. We are going to ask them a handful of questions. One thing I do want to highlight, I mentioned this earlier, we do manage all types of leave all across the country. However, our leave planner is designed to support employees with parental leaves, medical leaves, and caregiving leaves. The employee will be prompted to answer a handful of questions about their potential leave situation. And once they do that, we are going to create this awesome map for an employee. And this map is really a breakdown of all of the different benefits that an employee could potentially be eligible for. You'll notice here that this isn't just federal and state leave options. This is also going to show a person's maybe company policies or short-term disability. If an organization offers short-term disability, that would also be included here. But where I think this is really helpful is it helps employees understand the coordination of their benefits, right? Do these programs run concurrently? Do they run consecutively? If you live in a paid leave state, there's also, a lot of different benefits that you could potentially be eligible for, and you may not understand those benefits. So this map is also a little interactive. So if an employee comes in and they don't know what California PDL is or California SDI, you can actually click into these bars and this side window pops out, and we explain that benefit a little bit further for the employee, breaking down, is this a paid benefit? Is it an unpaid job protection? Those kinds of things. But again, just really giving an employee a great idea of what their benefits might look like if they were to actually request a leave of absence. Now, from this screen, if an employee looks at this and they've got all the information they need and they're ready to actually initiate a leave, they can do that. This purple button here down on the bottom, an employee has the ability just to click that and submit their leave, answer a few more questions and submit their leave. But obviously, you don't have to use the leave planner to be able to submit a leave of absence in Tilt. So going back to our homepage here, this is where an employee can come in and actually request a leave at any time through our technology. They have a leave survey through the platform, but we also have a newer feature on Tilt called Tilly Voice. And Tilly Voice is our AI companion. And Tilly Voice speaks both Spanish and English, which is really exciting. Trying to make our platform more accessible. And what Tilly Voice allows employees to do is to call in to initiate a leave request. Not only can they call in to initiate the leave request, but they can also make changes to their leave. So if their leave type changes or their leave dates change, they would be able to do that through Tilly Voice over the phone as well. But either way, once a leave is entered into Tilt, whether that's through the leave planner, the leave survey, or Tilly Voice, what happens is our software is really designed to take a look at who is this person? Where are they located? What type of leave are they taking? And what we do is we build out a step-by-step leave plan for that person based on all of their unique circumstances. Now, you've heard us talk a lot about leave experience management. And one of the things that I really want to call out here is just what that means to Tilt. One of the things that I think is really important is that when someone is requesting a leave of absence, Tilt isn't just looking at the benefit, right? We're not just saying, oh, that's a short-term disability leave or that's an FMLA leave. What we're looking at is what is the life event that that person is actually experiencing. And then after we look at the life event, that's when we start to say, okay, what are the benefits that that person is eligible for? And what that does is it really creates a seamless experience for the employee so that they understand exactly where they need to go, what they need to do, when they need to do it. And we're really coordinating all of the benefits that they are going to be eligible for. So I'm going to dive in here and actually show you what the employee experience looks like on our platform. Really quickly, just want to note that we are showing an example of a California parental leave. I think we can all agree that California is a little bit of an animal when it comes to leave management. So I think it's a good example to use on our platform. All right, so actually I'm going to pause here. Are there any questions in the chat, Lindsay, that I need to be answering?
Yeah, there was one from Eric from the leave planning. He asked, does the leave planner consider time taken in the past 12 months if you're using like a rolling 12-month method?
Yeah, so one of the questions we actually ask is about FMLA usage in the last 12 months. So that is something that we collect.
Cool. Thanks, Al. That's the only one so far.
Okay, perfect. Good question, Eric. All right, so diving into the employee's leave plan. The first thing that we do for an employee is we really are creating them a to-do list. This to-do list, as you can see on your screen, is broken into two sections. So the first section I'm going to talk to you about is going to be the required items. These are the things that an employee truly has to do to take a leave of absence. So these are things like turning in an FMLA medical certification, or if your organization offers short-term disability, applying for that benefit, or applying for state benefits, those kinds of things. This required list is actually going to be in chronological order, so the employee will understand the order in which they need to complete items. But additionally, we also are including due dates. So the employee understands, when do I have to turn in that medical certification? Or when is the date that I can start applying for short-term disability? Those kinds of things. And not only do we notify them in the platform, with these due dates, but our leave specialists are also proactively reaching out to the employee to remind them of upcoming deadlines and tasks. I've learned in my 5 years at Tilt that is something that most HR teams are having to do a lot of, chasing down paperwork and timelines and things like that. So our team is removing that work from your team's plate. Now, when it comes to actually completing steps, I want to dive in here and first talk about FMLA. Our software is designed to automatically determine FMLA eligibility. We are obviously going to collect the medical certification to determine whether approve or deny that claim. And how we do that is by collecting the medical certification. So an employee would come into Tilt. We're simply going to have them click the start button. We are going to explain to them exactly what they need to do. So, you have 15 days to turn in this medical certification. Here's step 1 through 3, exactly what you need to do. We will also provide the employee with the template medical certification as well, just to make it easy so they have everything in one spot. One thing I also want to note here is that we do have employees share all of their documents with us through the platform. We're SOC 2 compliant. It's really important to keep all of these private documents safe. So we have everything that's shared is done through the portal itself. Now, quickly diving into other steps in this leave plan, short-term disability is always a big one to touch on. what we do is we actually, during the implementation process, we're going to learn your short-term disability policy, and we build it into our platform. And in the employee's step, short-term disability step, we are going to explain exactly what the benefit is. So make it really easy for them to understand what they're eligible for. We explain, how long does this benefit last for? What's the payment schedule look like? Is there a waiting period? All of those kinds of things are going to be built in. And then we provide the employee with step-by-step instructions for actually filing that claim. So most carriers have the option to apply for a short-term disability online through a portal, but if an employee prefers to call in to do that, we will also give them the instructions for that. Another thing to note, we understand that some employees need a lot of support, right? Other employees are a well-oiled machine. They don't need a lot of hand-holding. They're good on their own. But where we also want to come in here is when people really do need like support as they're completing documents, whether that's short-term disability or state benefits. So this is where our leave specialists come in. So if an employee is filling out their short-term disability paperwork and they get stuck and they have a question, they can reach out to their leave specialist. So they have the ability to, of course, email them, but we also offer two-way text messaging, and we also have the ability for employees to schedule a phone call, Zoom call with our Leave Success team. And even if they want to go through and screen share and walk through the paperwork with someone, we're more than happy to do that. So whatever level of assistance your employee needs, we've got them covered. All right, we do the same thing with state benefits. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, every state's a little bit different. I like to use California because the EDD is quite special. You obviously have to go through the EDD to file for California state benefits. So we are going to also walk the employee through that process. We create a custom step, just like with the short-term disability step, where the employee is going to have step-by-step instructions for what they need to do to file with the EDD. We link out to the EDD's website. And again, we're there to support the employee through the process. So again, making sure step-by-step the employee knows exactly what they need to do, where they need to go, and when they need to do it. A quick note on this as well, we also manage the return to work process. We start reaching out to an employee before their return to work date to confirm that they do in fact plan on coming back to work on that day that they had specified. If your organization requires a return to work certification or fitness for duty form for different leave types, we can also build that into the platform. That was really kind of a quick rundown of the required steps. I quickly want to touch on the suggested items. Suggested items are completely customizable. So this is a checklist that we can create with your team during implementation for sharing different types of resources with employees. I've seen everything from maybe your organization has a knowledge transfer plan that you ask employees to complete. We can build that into Tilt. Maybe you have an out-of-office message that you want employees to use. We can include that in Tilt. I've even seen if your health insurance provides a free breast pump to a birthing mother and you want to include the steps for acquiring that pump in the leave plan, we can do that. So what I always tell people is think about all of the resources that you likely have on an intranet site or in a PDF file or something along those lines that you're sending out to employees. Rather than sending them a bunch of different resources, we want to have everything all in one spot. Okay, I want to jump into my favorite feature on the employee experience, and that's going to be our leave map. So our leave map is designed to help an employee truly understand the coordination of their benefits. So what am I eligible for? Do those programs run concurrently or they run consecutively? Our leave map also includes their paid benefits. So the top half of this map are paid benefits. The bottom half are going to be unpaid or job protections. And yeah, it just really helps an employee understand what they're eligible for. Again, just like with the leave planner, this is interactive in the sense that an employee can click in and say, what is SDI? This window pops out and we explain SDI a little bit further to the employee. This is a newer feature on our platform and it has been very well received by our customers. We now track benefit balances and status. So an employee has the ability to come in and take a look at the status of all of the different benefits that they're eligible for, and they can track them in real time. So for example, if an employee is using their FMLA time and they don't know how much they have left, they can come in here and actually take a quick look and see how much FMLA they've actually exhausted. Okay, I'm going to pause. I think we've got some questions. Linz, can you tell me if we have any questions?
Yep. And you may kind of have answered this a little bit, but let's dig in a little bit deeper. So Sarah asked, does Tilt get informed if an employee is approved for a state benefit, and like how much it's approved for? How does that work?
Yeah, we do. So we actually work with the employee. We will collect like the notice of computation or an explanation of benefits from the employee. I'll kind of get into how we do some of the pay stuff here in a little bit, but we do collect proof essentially from the employee.
Yep. And then also from Lauren here too, maybe digging in a little bit about like the customization on the steps. So the question is, if a company has a private plan instead of the state plan, can the company adjust these workflows and steps for those employees?
Yes, absolutely. So I think New York is a great example of that. In New York, you obviously use a carrier to administer those state benefits. In the custom steps that we build out, we will build that out specifically to that. So if you have private plans or if you have even a state where a carrier administers those benefits, we customize the steps so the employee knows exactly where to go and what to do.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's great. Another question just came in too. So I'm going to read this for the first time with you. So Josh says, how does intermittent leave work within the platform? Ooh, good call. Do employees go back and request additional time off for that event? I'm sure that's exactly where you were leading to.
It was.
Oh, I apologize. So
it's perfect. That's well timed because that's literally exactly where I was going. So what would a leave of absence platform be without the ability to track intermittent leave time? So Tilt does track intermittent leave time. Employees have the ability to self-report intermittent FMLA usage directly in our platform. So how that works is an employee will come into this calendar here where it says add leave time. They'll click here. Tilt does track intermittent FMLA time down to the minute. So if you have somebody who's taking 45 minutes, 3 days a week for physical therapy, they can pop in here and submit that time. One thing I do want to note is that our team is responsible. So when a submission of time comes in, we are going to be reviewing the time, making sure it matches what the employee has been approved for on the medical certification. And then once we've done that, we will publish that time as well. So there is, we're checking the time that's being submitted as it's being submitted as well. Great question. Okay, I quickly want to dive into payroll calculations. Leave is stressful, and not knowing where your money is coming from makes it far more stressful. So one of the things that we do is we actually provide payroll calculations to employees before their leave ever even starts. So if I'm pregnant and I'm due in October, we're in May, I can actually come into Tilt to see what my pay breakdown should be based on my estimated due date. So what's really great about this is this includes all pay sources. So waiting periods, prorating, short-term disability insurance, state benefits, PTO, really anything that goes into an employee's pay while they're out on leave. And this is designed to show the employee not just how much they're getting, but where it's coming from. I also want to highlight that during implementation, we build your pay schedules into our platform. So this is actually going to reflect your specific pay periods. So that's into the platform. So again, these are estimates. Part of the integration that we will set up with your organization is pulling historical pay information. So we're able to calculate, what the employee should be getting from the state. And then again, on the back end, we're confirming what they've actually received with the employee as well. These do get updated in real time as information becomes available. Of course, leave is very fluid. Surgeries don't go as planned. Babies don't come when they're supposed to. So as those dates change, these things will get updated in real time as well. All right. That was a lot of information. Pausing again for questions before I dive into our HR dashboard.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. I think you hit on everything.
Perfect. Okay. Well, jumping into the HR dashboard, this is also something that we have recently redone on our platform. So this dashboard is where your HR team can come to have visibility to all of the different things that they need to see. I think we've talked about a couple of times here today. We want to give HR visibility. We don't want there to be a black hole of information where your team doesn't know what's going on with a specific leave at any given time. But what we want to do is take the administrative burden off of your team's plate. So we start with the dashboard, and in this dashboard, you're going to have a quick view of recent starts and returns. So right here, you'll be able to see, are there any individuals who are returning from leave, who are going out on leave this week? We also have this outstanding items tab. This is where if an employee has yet to turn in their medical certification or their proof of bonding, we will notify your team through the dashboard as well. So you can get a quick view of any outstanding items there as well. We also have our reporting dashboard, which again is also a newer feature on Tilt. This is where your HR team can come in and pull a bunch of different reports. So things like, leaves by type, by stage, by state, continuous versus intermittent, all of those kinds of things. So again, just having ad hoc reporting for you as well. Okay. I do want to click in here and talk through our leave plan tab. This is where you can see every single employee who's taking a leave of absence. You can see the type of leave they're taking, their leave dates, where they're located. Again, our software does automatically determine FMLA eligibility. So there's a column here where you can see whether or not that person is FMLA eligible. All right. Now, I will say, if you're looking for additional information that doesn't end here, you also have the ability to click into a specific employee's name. When you do that, this window is going to pop out, and we are going to give you kind of a quick breakdown of that employee's leave. So a leave summary of where we are in leave, what documents are we reviewing, those kinds of things. We also are going to give you this view plan button. This view plan actually gives you access to click into the employee's leave plan. So you can see what steps are there, what they've completed, what they haven't completed. Again, giving you more visibility as an HR team. We additionally are going to give you benefit tracking and statuses. So here is where your HR team can come in and see which benefits is the employee eligible for, what's the status of that benefit. You can track their exhaustion right here under this tab. We do collect documents. Again, like I mentioned, things like medical certifications. When we collect those documents, your team does have access to them directly through the dashboard. It happens in real time. You don't have to request those documents from us. They're automatically uploaded. I will also say that you have the ability to see the status of a document. So if an employee has yet to turn in their medical certification, you would be able to come in here and see that the status is waiting on the employee. Once they have turned in a document, the status does turn green. It says completed, and it will also be date stamped so you know when the employee turned that document in. All right. We also give you the ability to share documents with us. So if an employee ever hands you a document in person and you want to upload it into Tilt, you do have the ability to do that. We also give you the ability to track FMLA. We actually give you a report where you can come in and see the exhaustion of FMLA, like how someone has used their FMLA across the stretch of their leave. We do give I just got kicked out. Let me dive back in here. Sorry about that, everybody. I think I timed out from a security standpoint. Okay, clicking back in here. We do give your HR team access to our payroll calculation, so you can come in and see how the employee is getting paid. We do have a separate view for payroll, and I'm going to dive into that in a moment. But you do have access to the payroll calculations. And then one of my favorite features on the HR dashboard is going to be our activity feed. This activity feed is literally a running ticker of all of the communications that we have with an employee through our technology. So anytime we send a reminder to turn in a medical certification, or we request a document, or we update a payroll calculation, it's all recorded here. So, not that this ever happens to anybody, but if you ever have somebody who comes back to you and says, I didn't know I had to turn in a medical certification, nobody told me that. Now you can actually come into Tilt and say, actually you did. And here's the exact message that they sent to you. This is the date and time. You have a record of all of those communications. So making it really easy for your team to have transparency. All right, that is the HR dashboard. I know we had some questions come in here. I'm thinking, should we dive into these or should we hold them, Linz?
We can dive in. Let's dive into one of them because I think it's relevant to the just like how we manage like their company policies.
Okay.
So this one example is just can Tilt handle company policies for one? The example that they gave was just like unlimited vacation or unpaid time.
Yes, so we do manage all of company policies, including unlimited time off. We run into this a lot with organizations. And what we really want to make sure is that, and our leave compliance team has big feelings about this too, but we want to make sure that if you have like an unlimited PTO or vacation policy, that you also have a policy about how that can't be used for leave. What we want to make sure is that we're separating the vacation time from like a limited vacation or RTO from the actual leave time. But yes, we do have the ability to manage those policies.
Awesome. Okay, that sounds good. The other one, just to clarify too, so can our system track the earned sick time for like a state benefit? So her example is for state of Michigan, accrual time, and to be able to calculate that year to year. So for sick time.
Yeah, so Tilt does not manage sick time. It's just for leave of absence. So sick time is not something that is included in our platform.
Cool.
Great question though. Yeah.
Thanks. I'll hold the other ones as you continue to go to payroll.
Okay, perfect. So diving into the payroll piece of the platform, I really want to make sure I talk through how our payroll functionality works. So like I mentioned earlier, we do have the ability to set up integrations with your payroll system. That integration is going to give us historical pay information so that we can look back and see how long has someone been paying into a specific state benefit. In our software, we've actually rebuilt the state calculator, so we're able to automatically calculate what those benefits should look like based on the information that we have. And then we're able to then tell your payroll team what you need to be paying an employee. So for example, if you have a policy that you top up an employee to 100%, a lot of teams are internally doing those calculations manually. We will do those calculations for you. So rather than your team having to guess what the employee is going to be getting from the state and then topping up the difference, Tilt will do that for you. How this functions is that we ask that your payroll team come into the Tilt platform, and what we have you do is actually click this close pay period button. When you click this button, it allows Tilt to track the exact moment that your payroll team is closing payroll. And the reason this is really important is, let's say you're paying an employee this Friday, but in order to pay an employee on Friday, you might actually have to close your pay run on Tuesday. So you close your pay run on Tuesday, and then Lindsay's out on leave and she changes her leave date on Thursday. Now, all of a sudden, that payroll calculation that you pulled on Tuesday and you're paying them on Friday is wrong. So what we do here at Tilt is when you click that close pay period button, Tilt starts tracking all of the changes that happen to that leave from the moment that you click the button until you pay the employee on Friday. And then we will run a reconciliation report for you. So if there is an overpayment or underpayment that has occurred because of a date change, for example, we will report that back to you in our payroll report. Now, after you close the pay period, you would simply come down to this search report button. You're going to enter the date that you want to run payroll for. And this payroll report is going to populate. This is going to list out every single employee who is on leave for that specific pay period. One thing I want to call out, because you'll probably ask this, someone will probably ask this, we do have the ability to support multiple pay schedules. So if you have a bunch of different pay schedules, that's okay. We can do that, and no, there is not an extra charge for that. All right, so this report is actually going to show you every single employee who's on leave for that pay period, and then what they're getting from the different sources of pay. What I really want to focus on is these last couple columns here. We are going to tell you the total company paid. How much do you need to pay the employee for that specific pay period? The column right before that is actually total adjustments to be made. So if there was an overpayment or underpayment that occurred, this is where you would be able to come in and see that amount as well. One thing to highlight is that this report does not automatically go back into payroll systems. And that is by design. Most payroll teams would like the ability just to review a document like this before it goes live in their payroll system. So when you do go to export this information, you would be able to come to this download button. When you go to download the report, you do have the ability to customize which fields you actually want to export. So as you saw there were a lot of different data points. You may not need all of those data points. So you do have the ability to filter this down so that the report is more fitting for what you need it for. All right. Any questions before I dive into our manager portal?
No, I think that's great. There's a couple in here, but we'll hold it till the end on
okay, that. Perfect. That sounds good. All right. I'll bring us home here. Managers. So one big blind spot that I think we often find with teams is the communication between an employee and a manager and HR teams. And there's a real importance in making sure that a manager, like a direct supervisor, understands when an employee is going out on leave and when they're coming back from leave. So because of that, we think it's really important to include managers in our process. The other reason we really think it's important to include managers in our process is risk mitigation. There are a lot of different laws that impact employees and their leave and their job protections. And we have to make sure that managers understand what those job protections actually are. So what I will say here quickly is that when a manager logs into Tilt, they would see a screen that looks like this. It's going to list out any of their direct reports who are taking a leave of absence. I want to shout this very loud. Managers will never have access to private leave information. So things like medical certifications or return to work certifications, those are hidden from managers. They do not have access to them. But what we do give managers, again, is a list of who's taking a leave of absence, when they're going out, when they're coming back. And then when they click into a specific employee's name, what we do is we actually create a leave plan for that manager based on the employee's leave. So for example, if I'm a manager and I live in Arizona, but I manage an employee who lives in California, that employee might be eligible for CIFRA, or they might be eligible for FMLA or the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act or any other number of laws. We want to make sure we're training managers on what those different protections are to make sure that, number one, the manager can be the most supportive version of themselves for the employee, but then two, risk mitigation, making sure that a manager doesn't unintentionally say something or do something that they shouldn't do when an employee is taking a protected leave. So very similar to the employee's plan. When a manager comes in, we have the to-do list and it's broken into required items and suggested items. The required items, we have a bunch of different trainings that your team can actually select from. Our leave compliance team has worked with our implementation team to build a bunch of different resources. Now, if your team already has really great training on all of these different job protections, number one, kudos to your team. And two, we can also include those in our platform. So we can actually build those into Tilt so that the employee has that information in real time. One of the things I've also learned is that a lot of organizations will tend to do like one big training once a year, maybe at open enrollment, to train people on FMLA. But then they may not have an employee who's taking a leave for like 5 or 6 months. And so that information, they kind of forget it. So this is really great because we're training managers in the moment that they really need it. Now, suggested items, again, just like with the employees plan, if there are different resources that you want to make accessible to the manager, we can build those in too. So like I said, that knowledge transfer plan, tips and tricks, different things, we can build those into the Tilt platform as well. Now, we also give managers access to the leave balances tab. Whoops, not sure what happened there. Sorry, everybody. I'm clicking all the wrong things here. All right. Managers will also have access to the leave map. So they can come in and actually see what the employee is eligible for. Is there a job protection that is included in this leave? What is the duration of that job protection? And again, we also will track those benefit balances and status in real time. So if you ever have a manager who reaches out and says, gosh, Lindsay's been on FMLA forever, when does her FMLA exhaust? Rather than having to reach out to your HR team, they could log into Tilt and self-serve and find that information. Managers do also have visibility into the intermittent leave time that an employee has been submitting. And they also have the ability to report intermittent leave time on the behalf of an employee if you want to set it up that way. So again, giving information to managers, the necessary information that we need to give to managers, but not giving them too much information, and obviously making sure that we keep those lines straight as far as like not giving them access to information that they shouldn't have visibility into. And that is Tilt. I know that's a bit like drinking out of a fire hose. It's a lot of information in a short period of time, but I'm really excited to answer questions. So I am going to pass it back to Lindsay, but I'm here to answer questions.
Yeah, I think also, and maybe even before stopping your screen share too, if you needed to share some things, but could you talk a little bit more about our communication between carriers, like STD carriers and Tilt, and what that looks like? And maybe when does an employer need to step in from an employer standpoint?
Well, hopefully not at all. But how it really works is So we have different partnerships with different carriers. So again, this is somewhat carrier specific, but I do want to say that we work with all major carriers. And how this works is Tilt is going to be requesting access, like authorized to be an authorized contact with that carrier. And we're also given portal access if the carrier offers portal access to employees. Tilt will get that access. And think of it as like kind of the access that your HR team likely already has yourself. But instead of you having to log in and check for approvals, denials, benefit amounts, and dates, Tilt is doing that. So the leave specialist is actually going to have access to all of that information to make sure that all of the information is updated and synced properly. If an employee has a question, maybe their claim gets denied with their carrier and they need help, they need support, that we are there to step in. So we are happy to jump on a call with the employee and the carrier and to talk through what happened, what went wrong, what do we need to do differently? Is there a different document we can turn in? Those kinds of things. So we remove the need, hopefully, for your HR team to step in to any of those situations. Obviously, if an employee walks into your office and has a question, then you're there to answer it if you want to. But our goal is to handle those carrier conversations so that your HR team doesn't have to.
Awesome. And then the last question that I have on here so far, and I think this is a good one to end on from like the demo part of it, is just like maybe talk through implementation. How long is it typically?
Yeah, great question. So this does depend on the size of your organization and the level of customization. So smaller organizations, typically 4 to 6 weeks is what we see through the implementation process. And I would say larger mid-market customers are typically seeing like 6 to 8 weeks implementation timeline. I will say it depends on how much customization we do. You probably saw this as I went through the platform, but there's a lot of opportunity to customize different steps. The more customization you do, the longer that takes, obviously. So, but general guideline would be anywhere from like 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the size of the company and the complexity.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, that sounds great. The other one is from Josh, and this might be actually something Alex and I could follow up on too, because I know that one of our leadership has spoken a lot about this with like sales incentive plans. But the question from Josh is for pay calculation, what's the interaction for employees on sales incentive plans? Do you want to take that back to him, or do you want to give a little bit?
We'll come back to that. Yeah, well,
I'm going to make sure that he knows that we're I see the question, and it's a really good topic. And I know that our Chief Growth Officer, Jesse, has a lot to say with that too. So we can give some recommendations for sure. The other one, does this integrate with HRIS? Yes, such as Rippling. Yes, Becca, absolutely. So different varieties within HRIS systems, payroll systems, but yeah, like Alex mentioned, that's a lot of times set up. The integrations a lot of times set up in the implementation process, ingesting the employee demographic information. So then that leave is automatically submitted automatically, they don't have to populate any of the information for themselves.
And just to add to that too, it really depends on which HRIS system we're talking about. We do integrate with all of them, but the integration might look a little bit different. Some are going to be custom built API integration. Some might be an automated file feed. So it really just kind of depends.
Awesome. Okay. I'll end us here. I'm going to go to back here real quick. Let me share my slide. Okay, perfect. So really, I mean, just kind of hitting home on honestly what Alex just talked through, just really the foundation of our leave experience management. You can see employees are receiving a clear, supportive leave experience with not only our technology, understanding the leave plan, so what to do and when, getting communication and support also through our leave specialists. And then also hopefully you're able to see, okay, yeah, Tilt is automating and handling the complexity, the operational side, where it normally would fall into HR if it wasn't for something like Tilt. So again, automating the admin, not the human side of it, like we talked about in the beginning. And then, really ensuring that you all as HR teams have that visibility. You're maintaining the control throughout the whole organization and understanding where people are at within the leave and that full visibility within HR dashboard, what to do, the leave plans, all of those things too. So it really does. It's pretty exciting stuff for companies. Really leave really starts with an administrative problem to solve, but then once it gets to become more to be clear and really organized within like the Tilt platform and our support, it really becomes something different. It really becomes an opportunity for employers to support employees during these moments of these really, really pivotal, life events that are happening for an employee too. So really exciting stuff. One of the things I will say, this is always a fun one to just kind of talk about what's new. I won't really kind of dive into that because Alex just kind of shared that within the platform. But to reiterate, the dashboards, the HR visibility, we always have said that they have full visibility into anybody taking a leave, but we're really focused on making that even better with the reporting and the things that they need to do and upcoming events, the leave planning tool that we went through. So being able to privately plan that leave before notifying the HR teams too is really, really powerful. The leave summary, I love talking about this, and you had mentioned it briefly on the HR side, but being able to walk into maybe preparing somebody that's going out on leave, and you have the ability as HR to pull up that leave summary to see exactly where they're at real quick in real time to be able to support that employee. One of the things that we also is live and we did not touch on too, and that was on my to-do list, so I apologize, but is Tilly Voice. So when we are talking about leave intake and being able to intake a leave request through the platform, one of the cool things that we have now available is Tilly Voice. So it's phone support. It's now available in English and in Spanish. So they can request a leave by calling in, not only just in our tech now. Moving on to the right side of what's next and what's coming. So really exciting things, company policy builders. So really allowing HR teams to really directly go into Tilt, create, edit, maintain their company policies for themselves within the system. Customizable notifications, making that even more enhanced for HR, employees, enhanced manager experience to come as well. And then also Tilly. So Tilly is expanding into a chat bot for anything coming in and asking like compliance related questions within the Tilt platform. Mentioned the Tilly Voice being available both in Spanish and in English, but then also the need for the platform itself within Tilt to be full Spanish support too. So that's also coming on the roadmap, and there is a lot more of exciting things, but those are just some of those sneak peeks that we are very excited about here at Tilt. I want to say that this is near the end of, I don't know if we have actually any other questions. I might have missed it. Let me look here. I think that's it. So we'll pause. If there's any questions, last questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. One of the things that I would really encourage after the call to be able to scan this QR code, it books a demo with us too, going a little bit more in depth, really custom specific to your team's needs, our partners' needs. If you're a partner on the call, most often then you probably have worked either with me or one of my teammates too. So if you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's partnerships@ourtilt.com for our email. Otherwise, scan the QR code and we'll dive in deeper into very specific demos and questions for you all too. So thank you so much for being here, and we will catch you next time.